just another episode of your favorite podcast, the Ultimate Intimacy Podcast. It's another Friday. So we're back with Austin, and we told Austin this week we're giving you a clean slate, whatever you want to talk about. So we don't know what Austin's going to talk about this episode.
Cool.
We'll have to title it after.
We have a lot of faith in you.
Might have to edit a bunch, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, so much of my work, not just with clients, but outside of the clients, is how do we make this more effective? How do we have people not in therapy for forever or whatever, right? And some of my background is directing clinics and training other therapists and in some really complex scenarios and trying to figure out like one of our problems was we have too many clients coming in and we need to serve them better. And so I spent a lot of time on like, what are the kind of the baseline things that if we put those in place, it helps more couples more. Because what happens traditionally in a marriage that then gets brought to therapy is something in life hits a wound. A couple does their dance, their spiral. They navigate through it. Oftentimes they don't resolve it. They just mend, and then it happens again, right? And so what we start to look at is what can we put in place positive that's kind of like a buffer to those things that might need to get healed. And the idea in some ways is like, hey, if you put these things in place, like the boundary conversation we had last time, but we're also putting these positive things in, then hypothetically, and what we see therapeutically is couples don't have to spend a ton of time on their like childhood and past relationships and all their trauma because their marriage isn't activating any of that. It's like, hey, this is great. Me too. Cool.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, and I think this is an important conversation, I would say for every couple, is making your marriage the priority. I learned this several years ago. I've looked it up to make sure I'm not sharing something that's not accurate, but the initial like root concept of priority is there's only one. Okay. We talk about priorities, right? And they're always in competition. And I believe from a spiritual, godly perspective, I believe marriage is the priority in the relational context. Right? I think we obviously include God in our lives and our relationship, but in the marital dynamic, work is not the priority, friends are not the priority, your parents are not the priority. And this is really hard for a lot of people. Your children aren't the priority. The marriage is intact to serve and help the children,
Agreed.
but the priority is the marriage. And so and truthfully, like, so let's just take this a step further. So much of my work at times does end up being the impact of childhood. I think you guys had this conversation a little bit ago. People don't learn certain things in marriage that ideally they come out of their childhood with, and then they're like, hey, you learned how to do marriage? Me too. Well, cool, let's do this. A lot of times it's what they didn't develop, and unfortunately, it's the damage that they also endured, right? And so, for the couples listening to this episode, I think when you got married, there's a good chance that you were the priority of your spouse, or you might not have gotten married, is typically the thing
Right.
there. And you knew that your spouse, they might have been in school and like, yeah, you got to go to school and you have jobs, but those things served the marriage. And unfortunately, so many couples, they get married and they put all their attention into the career or the school with good intentions. I want to help, but they neglect the actual bond, the relationship. Same thing with kids, right?
Right.
And we have to be real. Like, let's say kids, for example, they do probably require more time. Um, but if the marriage is working well and you're getting that kind of dose of love from each other consistently, it doesn't have to be endless hours. It just has to be fulfilling. Then husband and wife have more energy to pour into all the other things. And so I see this often where it's like couples come in with any, we call it the identified problem, right? Sometimes they're pointing at each other, and we call that finding the bad guy. Like, hey, therapist, which one of us is the bad
Which
guy?
one of
Let me
us is
tell
the
you, right?
bad one?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Whose fault is it?
You're right. My job is to flip it all around and say, hey, I know these things are happening. We can address each of these, or we can fix the thing that's not working that allows all these to work well. So when we help couples reunite on their marital bond, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, sexual, working well, we parent together, we're balancing, individual needs. Now you're better able to go be successful at work and to be successful with the kids and to set some boundaries with family. Right? Like all these things, when you're prioritizing the relationship, it becomes more clear of how do we spend this time and energy, kind of building off of our last episode.
Absolutely.
So you two get a lot of messages from people that want ultimate intimacy, obviously. But so often what they're coming in with is my spouse doesn't seem to want to do this thing, right? And I think for that person, I would say be in tune with your value as marriage as the priority for you. And then a lot of your effort is how do I influence my spouse to see that there's actually something really great available? Oftentimes the approach is, hey, why do you suck so bad? Why are you terrible at marriage? Do you want to be married to me and connect? That equation doesn't work very well. And so if you can approach it and go, hey, like I know we're disconnected, I hurt you, whatever the thing is, this invitation, I've talked about this in the past, like I want to meet your needs. I want you to feel loved and cared for here. You are my priority. This marriage is my priority. I want you to feel that.
Can you
And
imagine if couples said that to each other more often?
Yeah.
I mean, that would change a lot.
Literally, like just those sentences that you just said. I want you to feel like your needs are met. I want you to feel loved. I want you to feel prioritized.
Right. And then, right, if you add the actions to the words, right? The words do for sure matter and make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're seeing that spouse actually do the things, right? That's where it
Oh.
works so well. And that builds this like energy of like, hey, I'm in this with a partner and we're doing something amazing and we like it today. And this is something I really try to help couples with. Me and my wife did therapy that it was kind of this like way down the road, you're gonna maybe enjoy this marriage
Yeah.
after all this work. And I was like, wait, we're actually married today, and we would like to enjoy it. Like, help us
Start enjoying the day.
You're
Yeah.
right. And so I try to get couples, and it's interesting because a lot of couples are like, wait, you're gonna try to help us connect right now? It's like, I mean, yeah, when you reconnect and you're in this together, and you feel that this is the priority, all these things you're approaching together, and it's way easier to resolve. And I'm talking the most complex, painful things.
Mm-hmm.
I see couples heal honestly fairly rapidly, and it's not about a quick fix, it's about a consistent repair
Right.
because they both want the end result of that repair, which is we're living in a safe, loving, like intimate, playful, fun marriage. Yeah, let's get that done. Like let's do that, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Does that
Well, that's
Well-
what everyone wants, right? Playful and fun. We want
Well,
playful and
I
fun.
think you brought up a great point too. A lot of us think, oh, it's going to take so much time, but really just the attitude of like asking your spouse those things and seeing that you truly do want to have things change can cause a connection to happen really quickly, right?
Yeah.
Just like, oh my heck, like he's trying, she's trying. That alone is gonna connect you pretty quickly
Right.
for a lot of couples.
I think a lot of couples look at us and they're like, why do you have such a great marriage? Like, why don't your kids come first? And they just don't understand it. I'm like, I spend a lot of time with my kids, like a ton of time. Ask Nick, like I'm with the kids all the time. We have a daughter that's always home because she's a senior now. She's in and out and in and out. We spend a lot of time together. She's getting ready to move out. My kids are a really big deal in my life. But if I say, hey, Nick, when the kids are asleep at 9:30, 10 o'clock tonight, do you want to climb into bed and be intimate or watch a movie or snuggle with me or let's go hot tub just the two of us for an hour? And he says, hey, I got a romantic date night planned for Friday night. That's 2 hours.
Right.
Those two things show him that he's my priority. and then I'm his priority. That's just a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
If I send him a text during the day, which I'm not very good at because we're together all day long, but if a wife sends her husband a text during the day or vice versa and says, I'm just thinking about you right now, I love you so much,
Right.
that is prioritizing your marriage in a day full of chaos, work schedules, and kids. It's just that simple.
Yeah,
it's the intention behind it, right?
It really
It's
is so
easy.
easy to
It's
prioritize your marriage.
And can you imagine if couples were texting each other like that, which is why we created the private chat on the Ultimate Intimacy app, or some of the games. They're like, honey, I just want to let's turn our phones off tonight and just spend 2 hours cuddling and talking tonight. You know how loved a wife is gonna feel if he picks her over his phone or vice versa?
Well, a lot of people think that prioritizing means time.
Mm-hmm.
It really has nothing to do with it. It really doesn't. She could spend 99% of the time with the kids and only give me 1%, but there's so many things in between, like she's talking about, like, hey, tonight, would you like to be intimate? Or send a text, or just things that are letting you know that she cares about you.
Like, let me share just one example really quick. We were having a really, really busy day. I knew the work day was a load. I knew I was going to be all gone all night with something. I was going to get home late. I probably would be too tired. On one morning, I'm like, I just want to connect with you intimately this morning. Let's make it a quickie.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, really? He felt like the most loved man on the face of the freaking planet. I can promise you that.
Right.
It was a quickie, and that's fine. It like those kind of things, or if he, like I just said, a simple text, like go stop on the way home, say, hey, I'm going to be 10 minutes late from work. Grab your wife a bouquet of flowers or her favorite drink, show up at home. That is prioritizing your marriage. And it's just that easy, guys. It's just that easy.
Yeah, it's not about the thing. It's not about the orgasm or the flowers or the sex or right. It's about you matter to me enough for me to think about you for 30 seconds and then to want to spend time with you. And this is what it's like something happens in marriage where we go from like, I want to spend all this time with you. And then some marriages stay back, right?
Yeah.
And so that becomes confusing for the partner we could typically call the pursuer. It's like, wait a second, I thought we were best friends. This is where people do have some work to look at, like what's causing me to be so panicky or so avoidant. That typically is a perception of something dangerous in the relationship. You counteract that best by being caring, being thoughtful. And so the language we use, and I like to keep this language with couples, is I often say, how are you being engaged in their well-being? Like create a pattern for yourself. Like put reminders in your phone. Hey, yeah, I'm busy with work or kids or whatever. Oh yeah, I should send that text. Or oh yeah, let me think about intimacy tonight and how do I get myself in that place when I've been stressed out or whatever. Like putting forth that effort, that need is an attachment need. Having a partner that's engaged in your well-being. If the partner's engaged in your well-being, the need is already met.
Right.
Then what you do next is the benefit, the fun. And I tell people all the time, like if you are proactively even thinking about showing your spouse love, they will feel that in the marriage. And then it also provides the other two automatically. The other primary two attachment needs are you available? Well, yeah, I'm anxiously engaged. And are you responsive to my needs? Yeah, I'm here. Like you told me what you needed. I'm doing it. I love what you're saying. Like it is not that challenging to create a healthy marriage. It is prioritizing and then asking yourself two things. If I'm not prioritizing it, why? Right? Or if my value is, yeah, I agree. Like my marriage is my priority. Well, now what's getting in the way, right? And so let me share this. This is really valuable. This is from like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's often related to business, but I found it really helpful in marriage. It talks about the way we use time and energy, and it says oftentimes we do things that are either important, they're important and urgent, okay? So this is really important and I got a deadline, like I got to get it done, right? The next one is going to be, this is important, but it's not that urgent. Like it doesn't have to be done right now. So that's something you schedule. The next one is, this is urgent, but not that important. Okay. This is where people spend a lot of time. They're doing things that are pressing. I got to answer the phone because it's ringing. I don't even know if it's important. I'm gonna answer this important thing, or excuse me, this urgent thing while I'm doing something that actually is important, talking to my spouse, for example, right? And those urgent things we feel a little like, oh, I gotta answer the notification. I gotta look at my
Yeah.
phone, right?
Right.
And so, well, I'll talk about shifting that. But then the fourth one is this is not urgent and not important. That's a waste, right? And so the fourth one you want to delete. Like these things don't matter to us. In the big scheme of things, how much does scrolling through Instagram matter?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not that doesn't matter, right? The things that are important that are not urgent, like schedule those, plan ahead. This is like the date night stuff. This is scheduling into your life. When am I going to think about date night, right?
Right.
And planning date night. If we can get to a place where we're doing the important things, not in an urgent space, that's going to be the most valuable. So I want to go back to the third one. This is urgent. Okay. It needs to get done. It's not important. Okay. This is a place, as I mentioned, a lot of couples end up there. And my suggestion there is find us or create a system where it makes it not urgent anymore. It shifts to that second one because you're planning ahead,
Yeah.
or delegate some of it, right? I see a lot of people doing other important things that have now become urgent and the marriage suffers. That's where it's really tricky. It's like, well, I'm doing something really good for our family, for our children, for our church. Like, awesome. The marriage is the priority, and when the marriage suffers, the kids suffer.
Yeah.
And you might get the thing done, whatever it is, but at what expense? And this is where I see a lot of couples really, then they're spending an hour wrestling with the hurt instead of what if you just had to spend the hour connecting and then doing the thing right in a non-urgent time frame. And I think when couples will look at that, um, out of that panic, kind of panic emotion, it becomes so much more clear. The problem is we keep hitting these deadline. We're running around crazy, and we're also, the marriage suffering.
I think so many of us are task oriented and we don't, like you said, determine what's important or what's not important. We just see a task that needs to get done or something we're doing and just
We,
try to do it.
Yeah,
I think we're not really like thinking about what it's going to do to our spouse. Like,
right,
I think we do a lot of things in our day, not really thinking, how does this affect our spouse,
right.
right?
Yep.
And I think if we just talked about, what was it, last week, I think, about the weekly marriage meeting.
Oh yeah.
Me and Nick did, how like important that is to sit down like Sunday night, Monday morning, Monday night, whatever, kind of the beginning of your week and be like, how do we get on the same page with our week, right? Like how key that is. And I think if you were to sit down and do that and plan out your week and talk about your schedules and everything that's coming up, the kids' schedules, your schedules, work schedules, whatever it is, and then say,
us time in.
how do we fit us time in? But like what you just said, put those in those boxes. Like what is mandatory? Like what can be like put aside? How do we put our marriage before this, even if it's 20 seconds of time, right?
I call it a couples council. I often try to get couples like if you can start to implement that, it reduces our therapy time together immensely. Like that's simple. And I often tell couples this isn't a scheduling meeting, that's a part of it, but it is a creating your life meeting, right? Hey, we're counseling together on what we want this week. We're co-creating what's coming up and what do we want? So I have several things I have people start with that we can share. What, I always suggest start with a prayer, start with appreciation, like specific appreciation that's relevant, and then express love. That creates that buffer, but and then you go into this planning. And what I suggest couples do is, I'm sure you've seen this, like this idea of like you get a jar and you put the sand in first, and then you try to put the pebbles, and then it doesn't work, right? This is what couples do with their marriage, right? They go, "Hey, our marriage is a priority. Let's make some time." Well, if you prioritize it, you look at the schedule and you go, "Let's put the marriage in first, then and you might
Yeah.
have to cut some stuff out." But I see couples where it's like, and no shame here, right? But it's like you had 7 hours a day on your phone, but you couldn't go on a walk together, right? And couples don't do that intentionally. They just do it,
Right.
neglectfully or whatever, right?
100%. Yeah. We see it
I
all the
I
time.
want to add something, and maybe it's a little off topic, but I want to talk about like date night, or just when you're sitting in your bed, or you're at the dinner table, or whatever, wherever you're at. When we choose to pick up our phone, I just want to say, like, I have to remember not to be a hypocrite in some of these areas, because if he picks up his phone to answer like a work message, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's picking another work message in the middle of our date. And a lot of women have said like this hurts, or just picking up your phone in general when we're trying to have a discussion, or just whenever it is. Like
Right.
I can't be doing that and picking up a text from my kids that aren't isn't urgent too. It's no
Mhm.
different. Like
Right.
if someone texts you and he's working with something on a work issue and I'm
Mhm.
dealing with a kid issue, it doesn't matter. Like we have to be more aware that like we need to be doing what we expect our spouse to do too.
Right.
I know that's a little bit off topic, but I'm
Yeah.
like, we have to
No, I
not
agree.
be hypocrites too. Like you can't get
Yeah.
mad at your husband and be like, oh my gosh, he's on his phone again watching the news. I'm like, well, I was swiping social media 5 minutes ago. Like we have to be very mindful,
Mhm.
like to just be open about it, aware. And I think all these things fall into place when you start being more aware of
Right.
what it's doing to your spouse, right?
Yeah, because I mean, these things are really built to take your attention.
Mhm.
Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, they want your attention. That's how they make money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell couples, especially in like if we're in a like repair type phase of their relationship, I'm like, take everything off your phone. Take email. People are like, email? It's like, yeah. If you need to email,
Put it on your computer.
go and like this is I don't love email. There's several things I don't, and I'm like, I'm gonna do email that time of day, and if I don't see the new email, I'll see it tomorrow kind of thing, right? Same thing with like planning intentionally. When am I gonna go on TikTok or Instagram or whatever? Going with that intention for the purpose of I'm not being dragged out of my marriage or my attention from my kids to this thing I don't even know what it is. So interestingly, in school, not as part of like marketing your therapy practice, we talked about marketing principles because they know how to get attention. And one of the things that we talk about is that's what couples are trying to do with each other. Like those bids. That's like, hey, can I get your
Yeah, exactly.
attention? Can
Right.
I get your involvement? And so we talked about what marketers have learned that husbands and wives typically don't know, right?
Mhm.
And it's like this captivating, capturing attention, and you can learn that from your spouse. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, if I ask the right questions, your wife will tell me what's really important to her in 5 minutes.
Right.
I can very easily give you those questions, but if you're curious, even if you ask the wrong question, if you're curious and you care, they will share, and then
Absolutely.
Right.
you have the roadmap kind of thing, right? And so real quick, going back to the marketing thing, one of the things they said is there was like a first ad on, or it was like a first commercial in like, I don't know, 30s or 20s or whatever. And it was the first time something was presented in front of people that they didn't need. It was a Rolex watch. Nobody knew what a Rolex was. They're watching a television program as a family, and all of a sudden this new thing is introduced, and it's like Rolex knows you don't need a Rolex.
Mhm.
So they captured your attention when it was already in something, and they call it interrupting marketing. Okay. Your cell phone is 100% interruption marketing in 700 ways.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, notifications, the game, the porn, all the stuff is just trying to take your marriage or your attention
Mhm.
from the things that matter most. And the notifications go, ding, this is urgent, ding, this is urgent. It's not important, right? And so for couples to know, if we go back to priority, like if your marriage is the priority, being able to shut out, this is boundaries, right? The
That's
stuff
boundaries.
that doesn't
Yep.
serve you, there can be a time and a place, like, cool, spend 15 or 30 minutes or an hour, whatever, a day or a week, but do it intentionally on, entertainment, which is what, these things are. But you both know this. You talk about this. I mean, this is the whole point of ultimate intimacy. The the best entertainment is great intimacy. Like there's nothing better than great intimacy. And I'm not talking just sex, as you know, right? It's this
100%.
it is we're together, we're going on dates, we're going on a walk. Like that's so much better than watching people you don't
I,
know.
yeah, I
In
was
my
just thinking
opinion.
like if you feel like you're not getting the dopamine out of your marriage and out of your relationship, so you're turning to other things, I always think of like three things. Like there's either resentment or something, a barrier in your marriage that's keeping you from wanting to get that from your spouse instead,
Right.
or you've just become lazy and have just kind of stopped caring and need kind of a little subtle reminder like, hey, your marriage could still be amazing if you made it amazing, right?
Right.
Or lazy, or you're just full on, like we've been talking about, distracted.
Yeah.
And so I think there's always some kind of barrier to why am I turning to this when I
Right.
have this, and trying to figure that out for yourself and for your marriage and have that conversation in your marriage, right? Like, do you feel like this? Do I feel like this? How do we, what's going on? What's the disconnect? Why do we feel like this is more exciting? How do we make this more exciting? Like those
Right.
kind of conversations
Yeah.
are going to fix these. And then, like you said, it's not that hard. Like
Right.
even adults, put a time limit on your phone. I have them on my social media. Beep, it's been 30 minutes. Perfect. I'm done. This is a time waster now, right? We do it
Yep.
for our kids. I don't
Yep.
think adults are any better. In fact, I think the
Yeah.
older people are worse.
I think you're right. And this
And a
is
lot of times, and it sucks when you're like at a family dinner, even the adults are jumping on their phone. And you're just
Mhm.
like, are you serious right now? Not
Same
1 hour? You can't give
there's
1 hour?
right. There's a like if you got on my phone, you'd be like, "Oh, this is the dumbest thing," right? That's it. I mean, I don't have any social media. I don't have Netflix. I don't have any of it on there. I don't have email on there. I have a few kid games. I have some, like Audible, whatever. But because I don't, there's times where I go, and it's not a judgment thing. I just observe it. Like I go to places, and what I notice is just human connection is vulnerable. So it's not uncommon to go somewhere with a room of people like right next to each other, and like 20 of them are all like this.
Oh yeah, it's
Right.
insane.
And it keeps us from connection because connection is vulnerable. So you can hide in a phone. If you don't have that, like this is back in the day, it was weirder to be by someone and not be like acknowledge them, right?
Right. Right.
And so, I think if we highlight this concept of, prioritizing what matters most, I think it's really important to recognize. I think a lot of people don't realize this. Like, marriage is not just a commitment; it's something bigger. Like, it's a covenant. That's. I mean, there's value in us talking about that. A lot of people make vows. They intentionally do it in a sacred way. Like, this is a full on. I am all in on this thing, and then they don't be all in on this marriage, on this relationship, on this person. And so I think there's value in reviewing individually and as a couple, like what did I promise you? What did I, and not doing it out of obligation. Like I wanted to do this because I was so close to you. How do
Mhm.
I recreate that? You do that together. So many people are trying to recreate that alone to pour in, to awaken the other. But I think for each of us looking at like how am I like doing my portion of this that I made a real covenant with, and how do I course correct? A lot of people don't necessarily love this language, but like this idea of how do you repent in your relationship? It's not a apology. I'm sorry for it's a course correction. I
Yeah.
was off track. I'm course correcting. You matter the most. This matters the most. As we pour into one another, it's going to bless everything around us. I promise I see that all the time. Couples go from the worst to not mediocre, that's not the goal, to let's make it the best.
That's awesome.
And that's possible for sure.
That is awesome. I
Yeah.
love it.
I think for hopefully most of you out there listening, you've heard that number one, you can get to the marriage you want very, very quickly. Number two, it's as simple as prioritizing your spouse, which again isn't a time thing. It's a hey, you're on my mind. I'm thinking of you,
Mhm.
right? And again, I can't tell you how many couples we hear from that I just don't have time to prioritize them. I got this, and this. Again, it's not a time thing. It's sending them a text, letting them know you're thinking about them, or picking something up on the way home, or like Amy talked about as well. Hey, let's be intimate tonight. Just the small and simple things will completely transform your relationship, no matter what season you're at in life or how busy things are, or what you're dealing with the kids. It's just that the simple things like that. So
Absolutely.
we appreciate you being on, Austin. What a
Of
great
course.
conversation, and we'll look forward to being on with you again here in the next week. So
Cool.
we appreciate everyone listening to the podcast, and until next time.